What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I'm going to be continuing my coverage of the 2021 Fantasia Film Festival with an interesting coming-of-age tale like no other. It's Hellbender. Hellbender focuses on the life of Izzy, a young woman who lives with her mother alone in the woods, isolated from the rest of the world. As she grows up, she begins to desire venturing out and discovering the world outside of her quiet home. She befriends others and looks into the history of her family and how it's deeply rooted in witchcraft. And ever so slowly, she begins to understand why her mother hid her away from other people all her life. This is such a fascinating film. I'm not usually the type of person to really get into coming-of-age films unless the films in question contain a twist on the genre, and there's definitely a twist here, as it has something to do with witchcraft. The last time I reviewed a coming-of-age film where the main character had to come into evil age, it was in Brightburn, which was that evil Superman kid movie that came out in 2019. So this type of film exists, of course, but it's not a very common occurrence. So there's a lot of originality to still be found in the subgenre. And I have to say that this one fits the subgenre like a glove. Honestly, one of the biggest things that I found with this film was how impressive it was put together. If you pay attention to the end credits, which a lot of people just don't, a lot of the same names repeat themselves throughout. The same people acted in it, directed it, wrote it, edited it, produced it, acted as cinematographer, were responsible for costume, and wrote the music. At least all of that. And that's insane. Because you know what? All of those technical aspects are incredible on their own, and certainly they don't give off the vibe that it's the same three people that did all of that. Breaking all that down further, the cinematography is probably one of the first things that I noticed when I watched the movie. Being, kind of in the mountains, there's a lot of drone camera work, which again, the main actress controlled the drones. When it's not in the sky, the camera work worked particularly when it came down to setting up the shot and what specific things were placed in the shot at the same time. It's all very subtle, but I picked up on it. It looks great. The music was probably the next thing that I noticed, as this mother and daughter in the film have their own band called Hellbenders, and the music isn't half bad, honestly. It fits the tone of the film, it's memorable to a degree. I probably won't go out and buy a Hellbenders album, but it was still noticeably good. The editing I probably noticed next. There's a lot of back and forth in terms of visions, seeing the past, present, and future as a witch, as well as the editing done during the music scenes. Again, I thought it worked really well, amplified by the sheer fact that for the most part, everything behind and in front of the scenes was just basically three people. That's remarkable. As for negatives, honestly, the biggest thing for me when it came down to negatives particularly was probably in the acting department, which at times seemed limited or stiff. If it was just these three folks doing most of the work behind the scenes, then that probably meant that it was also the same people that acted as acting coaches. And I think it's probably a family, and as such, they're probably more lenient on each other when their performances aren't always amazing. It's not a constant problem though, but every now and then I did pick up on certain lines of dialogue that didn't necessarily feel super smooth or natural. It was fair for what it was worth, but I feel like it could have technically been better with a more extensive assortment of crew members. Other than that, I would just say in general, I probably don't care to see it again. It's a good film in the moment, and if you're a fan of witch or witchcraft stories, I think it's worth a watch, if for only once. Also, if you're a big fan of coming-of-age films in general, I think that this film is an interesting twist on the subgenre, and one that you could definitely have a good time with. Let's go ahead and break down my final score from an unbiased technical perspective. As I've said before, I was absolutely stunned by the impressive work done behind the scenes by honestly just three people all around. The visuals, cinematography, editing, and music were all really done well. But at the same time, because it's a coming-of-age film, narratively, it's not really about anything other than this one girl's exploration of herself and what that means for the future. I also noted the acting in the film wasn't always that great, so this isn't going to be a perfect score, but you know what? It's still somewhat decent at 72%. My bias score, just how I felt about it in general, I think it's fair. I liked the movie okay, I was engaged with it, but I'm not a huge coming-of-age person in general, nor am I, honestly, a huge fan of witch films either. So I wasn't really in the target audience with the film. But I did appreciate it, and I had a lot of fun with the technical aspects. This score is 62%. When we average out the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 67%. 67 out of 100 possible stars, or a C+ letter grade. Guys, have you seen Hellbender? And if you have, let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. Until then, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie.